Working on a Simplex steam locomotive, part 31, making new pins for the crossheads to replace the worn ones. I'm using silver steel because it is accurately ground. Also, it wears very well and can even be hardened. Once machined and threaded 2BA, the parts were bolted to the crosshead covers. I fitted the return cranks and tested the engine using compressed air. Here on the bench are various pieces of silver steel in popular diameters. I only need one piece, 5/16 of an inch in diameter, but I thought I would buy a collection of them just to keep them in stock because it is really annoying when I run out of a specific type of metal. This small but important part I could make from mild steel, but it's going to be much better made from silver steel. And the very good news is this accurately ground piece of silver steel is a perfect fit in the small ends of the connecting rods. This is how it goes together. First of all, you place the connecting rod into the crosshead. This is one of the old pins just to show you how it fits. And I'll be making a new one of these, which in turn will be fitted to these things, the two front plates that are attached to the crosshead. I'm going to check a couple of measurements because I don't think the old pins were exactly right. They were a bit shorter, so I'm going to make mine a little bit longer. Over now to the lathe for a bit of routine plane turning. When I filmed this particular clip, I was in the workshop and I'd only just gone in there and it was very cold, and the lathe is running a bit slow, but it will warm up in the fullness of time. This shaft is exactly the size I wanted it to be in order to let me thread it 2BA, which I'm just about to do. A quick test fit of the front crosshead plate says everything's alright, it's a perfect fit on the shaft. And the tolerance of the small end bearing on the pin that I've just made is very good indeed. You do need a little bit of play to allow the engine suspension to work and to allow it to go around corners, but not as much as with the previous pin. After parting it off using plenty of oil because silver steel is quite hard, I was left with this. I didn't part it off all the way, I broke off the last bit just to save looking for the part in the chip tray. The next step is to machine the other end of the crosshead pin to 1/4 inch in diameter to fit in the hole in the crosshead itself. Just so I can show it in the video, I took a measurement of the piece of silver steel just as I received it, and here it is, 0.3125. Perfect. Time now to fit the new pin into the crosshead. There's a washer that has to go on it, and here it is fitted, ready to receive the front part of the crosshead. I turned down a 2BA nut just to thin it out to make it look better, and using a 2BA washer, I placed the pin back in the chuck, and using a spanner on the nut, I tightened it into place on the crosshead pin. This front plate, complete with the pin, now has to be bolted in position to the main crosshead. This is done using 6 8BA hexagon bolts. I fitted new ones because the heads were a bit marked on the old ones and no two were the same size. I don't really know what was going on there. You have to be really careful when you're doing this job, because if you put too much pressure on these small 8BA bolts, they will shear off, and that is a problem. Now it's time to remove this piece of silicone rubber that I used to mask off the paint. To secure the anchor link in place, I used a washer and a 6BA nut. The next thing I did was to rotate the wheels, because originally the combination lever, which is the vertical lever, was bent, and I was concerned that it may collide with the cylinder, but it didn't, it was okay. I think I'll do a bit of oiling around the bearings just in case I forget before I run the engine. It's not ready to be run yet, but it will be soon. And as previously shown, I fitted this nut by having the crosshead pin in the 3-jaw chuck in the lathe while I tightened the nut up against the plate. To prevent rust on the crosshead, I will be painting these nuts and bolts. And now it's time to fit the return crank. You may have noticed that there is room for a small spacer washer between the return crank and the crank pin's shoulder, but for the moment I'm not fitting this. If the engine makes a horrible rattling noise, I may do so, but I doubt it. Please note that when I use the hammer to tap the taper pin into place, I use lots of very light hammer blows. No sooner has the taper pin been fitted in place, I make a mark on the taper pin where I'm going to cut it, and then I tap it out again. First of all, I chop the taper pin using a pair of wire cutters, then I clean it up on my 1-inch belt sander, polish the end of it using my polishing spindle and tap it back into place as shown here. The next thing I need to do is tighten the pinch bolt. And I really don't know what's happening with this engine, but I'm having difficulty finding the correct spanners to do the job. All the heads seem to be different sizes, but luckily, once again, my Blackgates Engineering very cheap laser cut spanner comes to the rescue. Now the taper pin looks the part with an equal amount sticking out at each side, and the pinch bolt is tightened. I repeat the process at the other side in exactly the same way. Now both of the return cranks are securely tightened and pinned to the crank pins on the wheels. The final job is to use a nut and a washer to secure the anchor link to the crosshead bracket. And now it's time to see if it all works. To start with, I'm using very low air pressure, and now I'm moving the engine into reverse gear, and yes, that works too. So I can give it a longer run, I'm going to fill the oil pump at the front of the engine, and to do this I'm using steam oil, the thick gloopy stuff. And as it's quite cool in the workshop today, it's thicker and gloopier than usual. I'm really having to put a lot of pressure on the handle of my Rylang oil can, and that's a good reason for recommending them because I've never managed to break one. But in the past, using cheaper oil cans, I have actually managed to snap off one or two handles. Time now to turn the pressure up for another test. That's okay, now with more pressure. I'm very pleased with this first test. These air tests that you've been watching are actually as they happened. I filled them from the beginning and I didn't have to have a rehearsal. My compressor's very small, so the air pressure soon diminished, and it didn't help having the steam chest covers just held in place with two nuts. Now it's time to remove the covers to paint them. After I've painted these covers, they'll be finally refitted, looking nice and black. I'm using a piece of Scotch-Brite to clean the surfaces ready for painting. First of all, using etching primer. This is really good stuff and really sticks to metal. This etching primer is designed for ferrous metals, but I do find that it works quite well on brass. Very shortly, I want to fit the boiler to this chassis, only loosely, not permanently, and give the whole thing a steam test in the workshop using a gas burner. My bottle of lubricating oil is getting a bit low, so I'm topping it up, first of all with lubricating oil, followed by adding some rapeseed oil to make the oil a bit slippery. Rapeseed oil makes a very good friction reducer, but do not use it for cylinder lubrication. That just needs to be neat steam oil as it comes out of the tin. When I test the reversing lever, it feels okay. It feels a bit dry because it's been in a tub of cellulose thinners to remove the grime and paint. So here I'm treating all the moving parts of the reversing lever to some oil. And now it feels very smooth. I had a bit of an oiling frenzy and went around the engine oiling every moving part. That's the axle boxes, the coupling rods, the connecting rods, all the valve gear links. In fact, every moving part on the engine. And that's it for this episode. I'd just like to say stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists, you can actually watch the videos back to back.